sanitary services, there's a response that there was the high volume of trade in plants, plant products and other regulated articles that were imported and exported, which attracted inspection fees and acquisition of export and import phytosanitary documents. So, Mr. Chairman, I just want the PS to help us understand in the year under review, which attracted this high volume of trade in plants. What is it which made the ministry score?
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Chairperson. Controlling Officer, in your submission, you have informed us that you are adjusting your target upwards in order to project favorable estimation on actual revenue to be collected. Now, in relation to that, Controlling Officer, have you made reasonable revenue projection to be collected in 2024, considering the fact that revenue collected in 2022 exceeded the projection by 424%?
Thank you. PS, you can proceed and make comment on those two clarifications. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll give a bit of information as regards this particular issue to do with plant, quarantine and phytosanitary services. Indeed, there was high volume of trade in plants and plant products and other related articles that were imported and exported, which attracted inspection fees and acquisition of export and import documents. I just want to state that as regards this matter, the increase of the revenue generation is based on demand driven. So what is selling at that particular moment, or what people are exporting in terms of commodity that's selling and giving them high income, is what leads to the increase in the generation of revenue. However, I would like to invite my director in charge of phytosanitary to explain this, though my colleague says he wants to take it up. Thank you.
Thank you. PS Technical Services, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. If you recall, Chair, we had issues pertaining to revenue last year, and the issues we were grappling with last year was where did we underperform. Now, at that point, we had mentioned the issues of COVID-19, which restricted trade between countries, and because of that, the area projections we had made were not reached. Now, going forward, this year we are talking about very high volumes. This is partly, I'm not saying entirely, partly because we were mindful of the fact that we should not overestimate the revenues. So our figures were very minimal. So basically, COVID is no longer with us, and so trade opened up. So basically, it's now we are back to normal, and in fact, even exceeding the previous levels of performance in terms of trade. So that actually partially explains why we have very high volumes. One, because we had underestimated, but also because we no longer have COVID now. I think people are able to move freely and do the trade. Thank you.
Thank you. PS Admin.
There's also an aspect, Chair, of the newly opened up stations in these borders in certain towns. So it has also been a factor that has brought about this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable colleagues, follow-up questions on that aspect? We can proceed, make progress. So proceeds from sale of fertilizer, proceeds from sale of crops. I think this is what from submitting, if I'm not mistaken. We can proceed to operational matters, as it were pertaining to failure to collect laboratory fees, the same plant quarantine and phytosanitary service fees. Honorable colleagues, you can proceed to ask questions on that. Honorable Mnyima.
Thank you very much, Chair. On failure to collect fees, controlling officer, when you look at your submission, you have stated and raised a number of issues, and one of them is that the request to offer diagnostic services applies to exporters, farmers, and other stakeholders. And under these services, clients are required to pay fees, etc. Furthermore, under the period, during the period under review, no such requests were made. Now, controlling officer, what informs you that there are no requests to offer diagnostic services from your client from 1st January 2022 to 31st December? Are you sure for 12 months there was no single request?
Thank you. Any other question? If not, for now, PS, you can proceed with that question.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to mention to this honourable committee that the manner in which the Plant, Quarantine and Phytosanitary Department operates as regards the procedures, or rather what they carry out is done in different styles in terms of when there is a request, when they are doing their lab test as a daily routine work, when they are going out on a call and the like. So for us to understand better, I would like Director Plant Quarantine to explain the 3 different stages or the 3 different types of testings that are done in that department, the way they are carried out and the way they bill and how the money works and what happens when they are budgeting. Dr. Malikano, thank you.
Thank you. Director Phytosanitary, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, PS. Through the PS, I want to submit that indeed, as submitted here, we have 3 different kinds of diagnostic services which are offered. The first one is routine diagnostic services. This kind of service is offered in the normal routine operations by the plant health inspectors to just verify the absence of quarantine pests from the consignments. And so this is part of the routine work that is done to just verify that this consignment is free from the pests of interest from the trading partners. And the other second diagnostic service the department offers is where the farmers or clients or stakeholders come at their own will to request for this kind of service for the department to offer the specialized tests or diagnostic tests. And the other one might be when we are conducting research. Any kind of research in plants and plant products would also engage in diagnosis of different kind of pests. So under the period we are looking at, indeed, we did not have any requests to do with requests by stakeholders to offer this kind of specialized diagnostic services. Because probably one of the reasons is because the department is housed within Zambia Agriculture Research Institute, which also have various specialized labs. And so farmers and stakeholders have a variety of labs where they want to seek that service. Moreover, most of these commercial farmers, sometimes they do seek these specialized kind of diagnostic services abroad, like in South Africa, Kenya, and many other countries, whereas the Department of PQPS specializes, also concentrates on carrying out certifications to verify that these consignments moving in international trade are free from any quarantine paste from our trading partners. Thank you, Chair. I submit.
Thank you for your submission, Director. Is that the reason, PS, why there were no fees which were charged to that effect?
Thank you, Chair. I am made to believe that that is the reason, as clarified by the Director in charge. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mnyima.
Thank you, Director and PS. So, PS or Director, are these 618 fungi tests, they are done pro rata by them? You do them pro rata, the ones that are the subject of the query, the 618 tests. How do you recover if they are not charged for?
Thank you, Honorable Member. I will invite the Director herself to explain the way they bill and the way they charge. Thank you.
Thank you. PS has taken over my meeting, because she's now.
My apologies,
directing.
Chair.
Before
Apologies,
before Director, you come in, Honorable Mfarari.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the response from the ministry that they are trying to distance themselves from Ascuda world, in the sense that Ascuda is managed by ZRA. If anything, Ascuda world should inform you. I don't know at which stage you collect your revenue, or you understand what is being exported or in transit. But if you are going to do it after the declaration at the entry point or at the port, definitely you would have captured this. And Ascuda world should not be an excuse for you to fail to implement what you are supposed to implement, because Ascuda definitely gives you the detail of what is being exported. I mean Ascuda world, and I've seen in other areas you are saying Ascuda. It's called Ascuda world. There was Ascuda plus, and there was even Ascuda before Ascuda plus. Then there is Ascuda world. So that should be able to inform the department that is responsible for this. And the chair, actually, the Auditor General, was very much correct to use Ascuda to understand what is going in and what is going out. And that's the more reason why I'm asking, at what stage do you implement at the entry or at the exit point to know what is going in and what is going out? How do you operate? I submit, Chair.
Thank you, Director in charge of phytosanitary. You can proceed through your PS.
Thank you, Chairperson. Through the PS, let me start with how are these samples collected, or how are the tests done. So the Department of Plant Quarantine and Phytosanitary Service conducts different kind of inspections. Among them farm inspections, nursery inspections, import inspections, export inspections, and many other kind of inspections. So during these inspections, plant health inspectors collect samples, representative samples, which are taken to the lab, and this analysis in the lab, it is guided by the import phytosanitary requirements of the importing country. So in the lab, the plant health inspectors or the diagnostician will be conducting an analysis to respond to the phytosanitary import requirements of the importing country. So whatever pest they will be looking at on those samples is to verify that this particular consignment, which is being exported in the country, has absence of the interests of the importing country. So after the validation or certification, that is when export documentation, which we call the phytosanitary certificate, in case of export, that is when it is issued. So it is done prior to issuance of the phytosanitary certificate. I submit, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. PS Technical, you want to add something? Is that a hand?
It is perhaps maybe I shouldn't be raising such an issue. I think we are not answering the question because I think the issue we should be explaining is this prior to ZRA issues or before? Because I think the member here was asking about Askuda World.
Thank you. Honorable Mfarari, clarification.
Chair, yes, the PS Technical is actually correct. There is a missing link here, I think, through you, controlling officer, to the director who is in charge. There is a missing link here. What you are being queried is the Auditor General used a system that is able to indicate what is going in and what is going out, and they got it correct. It's because at that point you are able to tell, say, these are exported, these didn't export, or otherwise. Now, what I was asking you is, what I was asking the ministry was that you are trying to move away from Askuda World and say those have their own rights and what. But my question was, since you have looked at this, there is a variance between what you have been processing and what is going out. And that's the more reason there we are saying you have failed to issue plant quarantine and phytosanitary service permits. Because it's emanating from the Askuda World, which should be able to pick what you've provided as a department. So that's why we're asking, okay, you prepare, after you have prepared, you give it to the client. The client goes to the border or the port. When he reaches that port, he provides what is required. But when he provides what is required, in the Askuda, as they key in key elements to fill in that C whatever form, they will be able to pick what was supposed to be provided by your department. And that's why I'm asking you to say, do you do it before? Do you do it even after?
Thank you. PS Administration can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I realize that we need to explain how maybe the billing is done and where the auditor picked this. The auditor picked this from the Askuda World. And I'm sure honorable members of parliament, you know that the Askuda World system is managed by ZRA and no one is able to interfere that. Now, for phytosanitary, these people, this is as a result of the information, or rather the billing that these people have is only restricted to the ministry, the single window system. So the two are not linked. So the auditors went to the Askuda World and collected information, which is different from what the ministry has. And then we have a struggle to link the two, of course. We are in talks. But truth be told, it's a different system that phytosanitary is using. Askuda World captures every entry that is done. Even when the client abandons that entry, they don't complete it. The Askuda World system captures that. But with a single window also, when the application is done and it's not completed, for as long as the payment was not done, it's not going to be captured. What makes the entry captured is when a receipt is generated. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, PS, for that clarification. However, it's not very clear. We need, I think, maybe Auditor General have an intervention on that issue. I don't know. The officer was there, maybe can shed more light. Yes, Honorable.
Chair, I don't know. I was listening to the controlling officer when he says when an entry is abandoned, then it's not carried for, or it might not even be paid for, which is understood. But maybe as the auditor comes in, maybe can he explain to us what he found on the Ascuda world, which is giving this variance? Were these items cleared to proceed or to come in? Because what Ascuda has detected here, or what Ascuda has detected is the missing, what is it saying here? There is a missing,
58.
yes, there are no details of the permit numbers or the permits themselves. And that's why they are actually raising a red flag that there is a variance between what you have been providing and what is going out in terms of these permits. Because if I'm going to move without a permit from here to go to Kazungula, and I'm taking my product to Nata in Botswana, if I have no permit, when I enter on Ascuda world, I won't enter the permit there. But anyway, maybe they can explain.
Thank you, Auditor General.
Thank you so much, Chair. Basically, what we did, of course, we looked at the database. Of course, we started with the ministry, the system which they use, that window, and then we got the database from the ministry, and then we proceeded to also to ZRA, where we got the information from the Ascuda world, bearing in mind that, of course, there is a link between the two systems, and using the HS code, we are able to actually match the two database, that the Ascuda world database, which of course process the imports and exports, and the ministry has its own code, which is normally used to identify the transactions which were actually processed for the ministry. And then when we matched these two databases from the ministry and also from the Zambia Revenue Authority, the Ascuda world, apparently we noted that there were more transactions which were processed on behalf of the ministry on the Ascuda world than what was sitting on the ministry's database. So that discrepancy caused, the loss in revenue, which should have been collected. So in short, we looked at both the database of the ministry and the Ascuda world from the Zambia Revenue Authority. Chair, I submit.
Thank you. Honorable Lumai.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. PS, if you go to the query regarding the subject matter, it says, although in their response, management submitted that all the transactions carried out were correctly captured and payment made accordingly, management failed to avail for audit verification permits relating to the 58 clients who imported agricultural goods. Then, Mr. Chairman, when you go to their response as Minister of Agriculture, they've just said, cause the Ascuda world is a customs system that ZRA uses for border clearance of goods. This is where now, Mr. Chairman, the people of Senanga, this is where Honorable Ricardo, in short, Why are we, ZRA, Ministry of Agriculture, we are one government, and we have got these discrepancies. And to us as a committee, where there's loss of revenue, it becomes our concern. So now, you have been having these systems, PS, in place. What is it that you cannot come to a round table to find a solution to resolve this matter? What is making you fail to resolve this matter between you and ZRA?
Thank you, Honorable Mamba. Is it progress or the same?
No, just on the same, but a short question.
We can proceed.
As a rider to Honorable Lumai's question, Chairperson, through you, wanted to find out from the controlling officer how frequent the ministry reconciles the phytoservice collection fees with ZRA as SCUDA fees. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. PS, you can proceed with those two questions.
Thank you, Chair. Perhaps I begin by answering the first question, which speaks to why have we not managed to sit on a round table with ZRA and iron out what the problem is, or what should the way forward be. Certainly, it is important that we sit together with ZRA and see how best we can work together. However, I would like to state that the both systems are in a way managed by Zambia Revenue Authority. But I also want to mention that we have made attempts to call and to engage, and currently I think my team is making arrangements to have some meeting where they can discuss how best this can be avoided. It's not something that has been ignored. It's something that we are very concerned about, because this is speaking to a picture that seems to be showing loss of revenue, which is not good. And coming to the other question, which is a concern to say, do you sit, how often is a team sitting? I will not be precise on that. I want to be frank, because I have not gotten in the recent any reports speaking to meetings that have been held and what they have planned going forward in the coming year. I would leave it at that. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Mwamba's question, has it been answered? Reconciliation with ZRA to sit, or you can proceed, PS.
Thank you. I am saying issues of reconciliation. In the past, I am made to believe that they have been sitting, but not regularly, because this system, like I have indicated, is somehow managed by Zambia Revenue Authority. But going forward, I think it's important that we plan to have frequent meetings or quarterly meetings that can bring out the various concerns that relate to this matter, so that we can have a lasting solution to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Wamnyima.
Chair, I think we skipped a query here on fumigation. Before we conclude this SCUDA, there's an issue here, PS, with regards to failure to collect fumigation fees. When you go to page 5 there, controlling officer, you are submitting that FRA is in charge of etc., etc. FRA has made all the payments to the ministry, and receipts are available in Appendix 2 attached to the submission. Now, controlling officer, the receipts attached here on Appendix 2. You see that these payments, when you look at the duration of the payments, they've been made between July and August 2023 after audit. Can you explain, controlling officer, why it took the Office of the Auditor General to raise this issue before an action of settling fumigation fees by the client was taken. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. PS, you can proceed. Is it PS technical or PS?
Thank you, Chair. It's PS technical.
Thank you. PS technical, you can proceed.
Chair, you know, I think let's be consistent. If I have to answer issues pertaining to technical issues, let me answer all of them. I think we can't be selective. I answer this one and my colleague picks this.
Thank you. So PSH, admin, you can answer this one. I don't know if is this one bordering on technical or is bordering on admin issue of fumigation. I think both PSs, you know it better. PS admin, you can proceed, and if you are delegating. Director Finance, you want to answer the question? Okay, you can proceed and answer. I don't know how that is. Proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the question that has been raised with regards to us having waited for the auditors to actually clear the arrears arising from the fumigation services was because initially when we had claimed those services from those fees from FRA, FRA had disputed that they hadn't budgeted for them in the year 2022. So we actually had to engage the Treasury for the Treasury to cause FRA to actually pay those fees. And that was the delay that was caused. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Have the fees been paid now?
Chair, they have.
Okay, there is documental evidence attached?
Yes, there is.
Okay. Honorable Lumai?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, when you read appendix number 2, it says your request for payment of the outstanding inspection payments across the country was well received. The outstanding fees were paid to various accounts advised by your provincial staff. So it would appear, Mr. Chairman, that at the time the ministry was responding to this query, they were not aware that FRA had already settled these amounts, because they've even attached the I can call them the payment, is it payment modalities, inspection fees. So it appears there was a lapse, Mr. Chairman, the ministry knowing that actually FRA had already settled these outstanding amounts. So in this regard, Mr. Chairman, what I want to find out from the ministry, why that documentation is with them, it is in the provinces, and the ministry is not aware. If you read according to appendix number 2, why do we have that lapse?
Thank you. PS admin, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is clearly lack of reconciliation on our part. That's all I can say, Chair. Because if we have this kind of information sitting with FRA is doing something and then my team is not aware, certainly we are not coordinating. Thank you.
Thank you. Make progress. Import and export permits. Failure to issue agribusiness and marketing permits, which can also be questioned with failure to monitor imports and exports, as it were. Then those are the last 2 questions we need to look at. Yes, PS, you have a submission you want to make before we proceed.
Thank you, Chair. My director, PQPS, would like to just give a comment and additional information towards this. The topic that was on discussion.
The previous one?
Yes, as regards fumigation.
Fumigation or progress is okay. I think we've looked at it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mamba.
Thank you, Chairperson. Progress, failure to issue agribusiness and marketing permits. It is regrettable that we keep seeing loss of revenue, and in this case, there's loss of revenue amounting to 410,754, which is 58 clients that imported goods and 61 that exported. Controlling Officer, can you state to the committee measures that the ministry has put in place to ensure that all imports and exports are monitored at both the point of entry as well as that of exit, so that we can try and cut down on some of these revenue losses? I submit. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mwila.
Thank you, Chair. In addition, Controlling Officer, I want to understand it in simple terms based on your explanation. So these 58 importers and 61 exporters who did not complete the application process, can we say they escaped the border controls, illegally importing and exporting? And I submit.
Honorable Omai.
Further, Mr. Chairman, I want to understand at what level the permits were not processed, because it was an issue, the ministry itself failing to make these importers and exporters to acquire these documents. So I want to understand at what point we have this failure.
Thank you. PS Admin, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. To answer the first question, Chair, I would like to mention to this honorable committee that the measure that we have put, or rather measures that are being put to ensure that there's no more loss of revenue at border points is: one, we have increased the number of inspectors at the border areas, and also we have also put in measures speaking to frequent visitation in terms of supervision to ensure that we are not missing out. And then as regards the other two questions, I would like to invite my Director Agribusiness to proceed in answering the remaining questions. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Farare.
Chair, yesterday you had asked the controlling officer to tell us whether they have a director in charge of ICT. And she said there is a deputy director or assistant director. I think that director should be able to help us on the systems of how they are doing things, how they want to link and interface the two systems. I think he should be able to explain to us what they are doing in that area, so that we can be able to do away with some of these things that are arising from a Skuda world, when they have a system that should be able to link or interface using other means, including maybe government service bus or so. So I don't know if he could answer, because these others, the rest of the answers that are coming, they are literally just saying, we could. What is he doing in his department to ensure that they interface these two systems?
Thank you. Is the director here? Director can proceed and give us a submission.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good afternoon. As Minister of Agriculture,
please speak up and speak through the mic. Yeah.
Sorry, as Minister of Agriculture, we have all these systems, but what we should appreciate is that most of our systems that we have in place, they are co-managed by Minister of Agriculture and Smart Zambia. I would be very comfortable if we can extend the invitation to Smart Zambia, so that we can to Smart Zambia on the technical part of the systems. For us in the Ministry of Agriculture, normally we are on the functional side of things. Yes.
PS, on my earlier guidance, I think we intimated that Smart Zambia come. I don't know if Smart Zambia were communicated to. You can switch off the mic to that effect, because some of these things we've heard. It's a song which we've been hearing. Now it's a chorus about government service bus everywhere. It's in the speech in terms of revenue collection. So we'd want to also hear from a perspective of Smart Zambia, what is it that they are doing? Because I think there are a lot of hanging issues in terms of implementation of a government service bus, which we are very much interested, like Honorable Umai said, in terms of revenue collection by government. Very, very important aspect. So PSC, I don't know if you have any submission, but would like also Smart Zambia to come, and knowing that tomorrow would be your last day if possible. I don't know. Yeah, PS, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. As guided, I tasked my team to communicate to everybody, every person or every other stakeholder who was supposed to be present, and I believe they were communicated to, unless there was failure in communication. Otherwise, they should have been here, because it was a serious instruction. Chair, thank you.
Thank you. This issue has not been addressed. Honorable Mfarari.
It's just a concern, Chair. I don't know what is it? Assistant Director. You are saying you are literally sitting there to operate the system alone. What happens whether you are linked to government service bars or you are not aware? I think you are withholding information. You are withholding information because you are supposed to come out clean on how your systems are able to interface with other systems or with Smart Zambia through the e-government or the government service bus, in order for you to link up with the ASCUDA. So if you say the only people that can explain how your system is working, this single window system, is Smart Zambia, I don't think it's the right way to go.
Sorry, Mike.
Thank you. Honorable Mai, you can switch off the mic, Director, before.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, maybe if we can move slowly with Director ICT. If you go to page 8, do you have the report with you? Yeah, Mr. Chairman, on page 8, according to their response, they are saying the cause, the failure by ABM to collect revenue from the 58 importers and 61 exporters of various goods was mainly because the clients did not complete the application process and did not therefore obtain the applicable permits. That is the response, Mr. Chairman. So I want now the Director ICT to simplify this response.
Thank you, Director ICT. There are those two questions through the PS. You can proceed.
Okay. Chair, can I ask for some time, maybe tomorrow, I consult my colleagues over the ASCUDA, because there are so many systems in the Ministry of Agriculture.
You can switch off the mic for now, Honorable Omnima.
Chair, I just want to understand from the controlling officer, who was helping you respond to this query? Your director here wants to go consult. Was it you were responding with Smart Zambia or with your people? Because I don't understand. Chair, maybe we can be guided.
Thank you. Controlling officer can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. To begin with, I would like to clearly state that giving these responses, this was done by our office, and every person has a role to play in responding. For as long as it touches your department, means that you will be part of the report or the responses. And to just try and explain a few things, our ICT gentleman is not involved per se in this. I would like to briefly just explain the paragraph that our honorable MP has just picked, which says that failure by ABM to collect revenue from the 58 importers and the 61 exporters of various goods was mainly because the clients did not complete the application process and did not therefore obtain the applicable permits. This situation that you have heard here is speaking almost exactly to what I had explained earlier. So the system, the way it works, when a client decides to apply for a permit, there is a form that they begin to fill. Once they start the filling of that form and they decide to stop along the way, they change their mind, it remains on the system and it is captured, even when somebody just abandoned it. So we have cases like that. Then going forward, we have a situation where you will see it's talking about, you may further wish to note that the ministry has not been issuing import and export permits for coniferous treated with paint, stains, creosote or other preservatives. HS code is given there. This follows the issuance of the Forest Act of 2015. This one has been withdrawn from Ministry of Agriculture. It is now sitting with Ministry of Lands. So they're the ones that are now playing this role. This explains the failure by ABM to issue import permits to Lomagundi, Pause, and Limited, and all these others that have been listed here. Because now the people who have the user rights is Ministry of Lands. So the system captures even those applications that people don't know that this thing has moved. It captures. I submit, Chair, and maybe I request the Director Agribusiness to shed a little bit more light on how these applications are done and what happens, the processes, and what causes the variances or the disparities in these figures and permits and money. Thank you, Chair. Director ABM.
Thank you. Before Director ABM comes in, PS, the information emanating from ASCUDA shows that the actual, is it 58 and 61? They imported and exported. That is what is in the system. But it is not correlating to them having paid for these permits. I think that's where we're trying to understand. But however, with that said, Director ABM, you can proceed. And then if you have information on what I've said, maybe you can shed more light. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So the agricultural products that are being talked about here are products that attract both phytosanitary permit and agribusiness permit. So the revenue is captured right at the point when a client begins the process and not at the end. So we are at the tail end, at the beginning process of it. And then this system, the Zambia Electronic Single Window, is managed at ZRA, both of them, the ASCUDA system and the Zambia Electronic Single Window. So we do not have access to the ASCUDA system. It is ZRA that has access to both systems. So even the system administrators are seated at ZRA. That is why you see that our ICT is not, has no interface with this system. Thank you. I hope I have responded.
Honorable Ferrari, can we have the two last interventions?
That is even worsened the whole. Chair, corrective action, which is the last submission on page 10. And I want the ministry to be consistent. You wrote a letter to ZRA, which you have attached as Appendix 3. And in your corrective action, you are saying the ministry is in the process of upgrading the Zambia Electronic Single Window to link to the ASCUDA through a functionality called electronic attachment of permits. Now, you are telling the committee that actually the two systems do not sit with you, they sit with the ZRA. And in your response, you are telling the committee that actually you are going to upgrade this single window system, or this Zambia electronic single window, to link it to ASCUDA. How do you intend to do the linkage? If the two systems are not sitting with you, you have no control over them.
Thank you, Honorable Mnyima.
Chair, you see, Chair, the agriculture industry should contribute 20% to the country's GDP. But these queries show that there is no clarity on what is being exported or what is being imported. Whose job is it, controlling officer, to reconcile exports and imports? Being recorded on the Zambia electronic single window and on ASCUDA. Do you have an officer who reconciles at agriculture what exports and imports? Because it's your submission here seems to show that well, let us hear from you before I get to that. I'll have to come and intervene based on how she responds.
Thank you. PS, you can proceed. Then I think I'll allow for two last interventions, Honorable Wamnyima and Honorable Lumai. You can proceed, PS.
Thank you, Chair. To begin with, I would like to just state to this committee that there are two departments that deal with permits. There's a department of agribusiness, they deal in permits, and there's a department of PQPS, they deal in permits. And both departments have got officers that are tasked to manage this work. I hope I've answered that question where you're asking to say, is there a person? So there is someone responsible, true to it, responsible for these permits in both departments. And then going forward, I would like to state to this committee that we have written to Zambia Revenue Authority to request Zambia Revenue Authority to see how best they can link these two systems. Okay, I hope I'm not taking you backwards, but I'm merely stating that this is beyond the ministry, and certainly the people that are responsible for these systems, and that is ZRA, like you have clearly heard from my officer who says the people controlling these two systems are not sitting at the Ministry of Agriculture, they are sitting at ZRA. So it's wholly an issue that we need to sit down with ZRA and see how best we can be part of those officers, so that we can be moving at the same pace. Because we don't play a role in managing these two systems. Thank you. I submit, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Lumai. As you come in, let me have the IT auditor. Where's the IT auditor from, Auditor General? To come and sit. Maybe help us on this ASCUDA issue. Honorable Lumai, you can proceed. Or maybe can let's have your intervention on this aspect.
So the audit process starts by identifying the systems which affect the financial statements of that particular institution. So for Ministry of Agriculture, they use single window to give permits for imports and exports, which is, of course, she's correct to indicate that it's being managed at ZRA, but the owners of that system is Ministry of Agriculture. So when we extracted data from single window, we compared to what is it on ASCUDA world. After doing the reconciliation, we found these discrepancies, which we submitted to Ministry of Agriculture to go and sit with ZRA to do the reconciliation. So when that reconciliation was done, this was the final position. So it is an agreed position.
Thank you. Honorable Abnima.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, the reason why I asked the controlling officer if there's a person who sits is because this person who sits at agriculture, why haven't they been doing reconciliations with ZRA on the system? Because you can't just sit and say, us is Zambia Electronic Single, Ascuda sits at ZRA. Why haven't they sit doing what? There must be reconciliations because the produce, you are issuing permits. You as a ministry are issuing permits for exports and the imports. On sometimes the importing country may, and I'm saying this because I've imported and exported before. And at Zaria I used to deal with Dr. Msiska then, before I became a member. So I understand the technical issues. So the issue, my concern here is the reconciliation part at the ministry does not take place. It has only taken place at audit. That is why you have this variance. Your officer there who's sitting there must be going to reconcile with ZRA. So, Chair, I wanted to answer, why hasn't the ministry been reconciling? Information sitting and what they have. Why haven't you been, this Zambia Electronic Single Window, Ascuda, why haven't you been reconciled? Because I don't think it's rocket science, Chair. The auditors went to sit, they reconciled with both parties. So that's what I want to understand. What has been so challenging to do the reconciliation? And if this person does not do the reconciliation, they must be disciplined.
Thank you. PS, you can make your comment.
Thank you.
Or Honorable Lumai, last intervention, then PS will give a comment when we close.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the issue at hand sits on the GDP of the country. Because those who are listening, someone who says, oh, here there's a railway, I can run away with it. What I want Mr. Chairman to hear from the controlling officer, what is in place so that tomorrow this query does not come again. Because in your same response, you are saying, no, this issue is with Ministry of Lands. In your same response, you are saying, no, this is with ZRA. And the Auditor General is saying, this is your system, but sitting with ZRA. So it is your issue to NAS. So what I want PS to tell this committee, what is on the table, so that, because the next audit is just a few months away from now. So what is on the table, so that come next year, we don't have this query.
PS, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I would like to respond to what the Honorable Member has said. Maybe I should be a little bit fair to the committee. I want to clearly state this, that the permits at the Ministry of Agriculture are done under the Department of Agribusiness, and they are approved by the PS Technical. So the PS Technical should be able to explain whether there's reconciliation, there's an officer tasked to do this. The permits do not come to PS administration, not at all. They come to PS Technical. So PS Technical must guide us on whether reconciliation takes place. Because ABM is a technical department which falls under technical PS. Thank you. And then I think even the rest of the other question that the other honorable has asked should be answered by PS Technical to guide us. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, PS. The bottom line, PS, is as Minister of Agriculture, I have not been carrying out these reconciliations. I think that's where we are at, and we will implore you that you proceed and do your reconciliations, which should not be emanating from what Auditor General has reviewed. I think we've seen the weakness and the position, so it's imperative and incumbent upon you that as a ministry you ensure that you do the reconciliation, because we want to ensure that the much needed revenue is collected by the ministry, as it were. So I think that is my take on that one. And PS Technical, you want to add something? You can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. For me, any difference, what is found in the Auditor General's office, I think what was not done is to seriously look at that difference, what causes the difference. A difference may be justifiable, but I think what we did not do is to sit with ZRA properly and come and explain exactly what causes it. So for me, like any other issue, since my friend has now alluded that this is my issue, I would rather this issue is withdrawn and then I give an appropriate answer after actually sitting with ZRA. I don't issue any permits, I have no role to play. Just to mention for the purpose of the committee, that is system generated. The PS has no role to play, whether PS admin or PS technical. But this is under my jurisdiction. But I would rather this issue is withdrawn so that we give it an appropriate answer. Thank you.
Thank you, PS Technical. Thank you so much. I think we need to adjourn now, looking at we've been here since morning. So PS Admin and PS Technical, let me take this opportunity to thank you most sincerely for coming before this honorable committee and the answers you've provided, and also some answers you've attempted to provide to that effect. Let me just give you guidance as we proceed. I think on paragraph 35, you need to make your resubmission, and that was, I think, the conclusion of the committee. However, there are people who we want to see tomorrow, like I think we guided you, the companies and the IDC and ZESCO, so that we can look at the other paragraph. Those people should come. And those who came today who we didn't see, I think we'll refer them to tomorrow. Your resubmission, PS Admin, on the first and foremost for the 10 suppliers, we've not touched that one. And we haven't seen the evaluation report for that. And also emanating from that, we want a ministerial tender committees meeting which sat to say let's cancel this tender for the 10. We want that information. And you said ZPPA also directed you. If they directed you, want the letter from ZPPA. And for record purpose, also get in touch with ZPPA. Let them come tomorrow and explain the letter which they wrote and emanating from what. Then the other two are resubmissions, because we're exciting Section 100 of Public Procurement Act number 8 of 2020, which was not, I think you were reading it, quoting it exclusively. Laws should be read with other sections, then you can come up with a conclusion. So let's have those resubmissions. Then the other two aspects also pertaining to distribution of FISIP, I think to non-qualifying beneficiaries. We have not looked at those two. So if you see that what you've submitted is not befitting, you can resubmit that so that we can look at it and finish on that aspect. So that is a guidance on those issues remaining. And also I think the tender for seed, I don't know if I think there should be maybe evaluation report is here. Secretariat to check and advise us as it were, so before we proceed. So with that said, I think PS, you have a submission, a clarification, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to be guided on the amount of time that will be given to put up all this that has been requested. I don't know whether I'll be in order to request for a bit of time in order for us to come up with all this and also communicate with the people that are required, because I'm looking at it like we need quite an amount of time to resubmit. It will not be something that can be done within minutes. I think it requires quite some ample time.
I think on that you'll be guided on when you should make the resubmission by Secretariat. But all those people already cited who are here, those that can come tomorrow. We finish up especially on the issue of power to Skabeta areas, ESCO IDCs on the other paragraph. I think those can still proceed to come so that we can finish that paragraph. On the resubmission, I think I've guided you on the documents we need. Then Secretariat will tell you when you can make that submission to that effect. Then also it's imperative, PS, that the two offices liaise, being technical or administration, so that as you make your submission, you've got an agreed position, so that at least we move in a befitting manner. So I do thank you most sincerely, PS admin and PS technical, for coming before this honorable committee, together with your team, to make these submissions and answer to the questions, as it were. So thank you so much, and let me take this opportunity that the immunity which was conferred before you is lifted, and you are free to go. We'll meet you tomorrow at 9:30. Thank you so much, and good evening. Thank you.